You know what's worse than being cheated on? Being cheated on by someone who truly believes you'll never figure it out. That was Olivia, my wife. We lived in Franklin, Tennessee. Quiet town, southern charm, every porch swing like a Norman Rockwell painting. I was a paramedic, 12-hour shifts, third man on the truck, the guy who saw people on their worst day and still said, hang in there. She worked part-time at a boutique, styled herself as free-spirited, wore denim overalls with expensive sunglasses, made smoothies with bee pollen, called me her calm in the storm. Turns out the storm was named Trevor, and he drove a lifted Dodge Ram with a Punisher decal. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It started with a sock. Not dramatic. Just a black Nike sock that wasn't mine, buried behind the dryer. At first, I thought maybe a neighbor's kid left it during a cookout, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. That's the thing with small cracks, they let the flood in. Then came the locked phone. Olivia used to hand me her phone mid-call when she was chopping vegetables or putting on mascara. No, it never left her hand. Bathroom, shower, bed, always face down, always charging in the other room. So I started paying attention. Her laughter got sharper. Her texts got longer. Her perfume changed. And then came the slip, a receipt for a lunch she swore she skipped, paid in cash, with T.M. scribbled on the back. Probably some cutesy little note he left. That night, she kissed me like we were still us. I let her, because I wasn't ready to burn it down yet. I needed proof. So I did something I'm not proud of. I planted a tiny audio recorder under the passenger seat of her Corolla. I justified it to myself. I needed clarity. I couldn't confront her with guesses. 3 days later, I heard his voice. Cocky. Southern twang. Laughed too loud. Called her Liv. Then I heard her laugh, my laugh. The one I earned over 7 years of quiet mornings and midnight runs to CVS for cramps and cravings. He said, "You think he knows?" She said, "He's sweet, but stupid." Stupid. That word did more damage than the moans that came after. But I didn't break. I planned. You see, Olivia had forgotten something. Something critical. I'm the one who saves people, which means I know exactly how to let them fall when they don't want to be saved. She thought she had the upper hand. She thought love made me weak. She forgot that being a paramedic meant knowing pressure points, how to stop a heart, or start one. And I was about to apply pressure in a way she'd never feel until it was too late. After that recording, I didn't sleep for 2 nights. Not because I was sad, because I was awake for the first time in years. Something in me clicked. A switch flipped. You see, most people think grief is loud, but real grief is quiet. It's in the way you butter toast for someone who doesn't love you. It's in the way you watch them lie and act like it's kindness. But I wasn't grieving anymore. I was calculating. First, I memorized the pattern. Thursdays. That was her Trevor day. She left the house at 11 a.m., said she was helping Jenna rearrange her storage unit. Jenna, by the way, was 6 months pregnant and hadn't lifted a damn box since January. Olivia thought I didn't know that, but I knew everything now. I borrowed my buddy Zach's old truck and followed her one Thursday morning. Didn't tail too close, just enough to stay in range. She didn't go to Jenna's. She went to a house on the edge of town. Brick exterior. Half-finished garage. Trevor's house, no doubt. He came out in a sleeveless shirt like a caricature of his own ego and pulled her into a kiss so long, I had to remind myself to keep breathing. They went inside. I parked 2 streets over. Sat for an hour. Then 2. When she came out, she was wearing my hoodie. I watched her pull it tighter, then climb back into her car and drive home like she hadn't just spent the afternoon dismantling everything we built. That was the moment I knew. If I was going to do this, I couldn't just expose her. I had to strip her of every illusion she used to protect herself. I started with Trevor. The guy had a YouTube channel. Of course he did. Trev Talks, self-help garbage with truck ads and fishing vlogs. He had 3,000 followers and an ego big enough to host its own podcast. So I sent him a message. Anonymously. Simple subject. You're being played. Attached was a short audio file, one I clipped from the recorder. Just Olivia saying, "It's just fun. I'd never leave Aaron. That life is too easy." I made sure the clip ended before any real affection kicked in. Let his imagination do the rest. 3 days later, Olivia mentioned he was acting weird. I nodded sympathetically. Maybe he's got stuff going on. Next came the social circle. She had 3 close friends who still believed in her storybook marriage. I started dropping quiet doubts. To Jess, "You ever get the feeling Olivia's changed?" "Just wondering." To Mallory, "Weird question. Do you think Olivia's been stressed lately? She keeps saying she's with you on Thursdays. To Jenna, I showed her the audio. Jenna, bless her, didn't say anything. Just sat with it. Then whispered, she brought him around me once. Said it was her cousin. I nodded. You don't owe her protection anymore. By the end of the week, Olivia's group chat had gone silent. She brought it up over dinner. Everyone's been kind of distant lately. I took a bite of lasagna. Huh, that sucks. She looked at me for a moment, studying my face like she couldn't quite tell if the wall between us had always been there, or if I just built it overnight. She still didn't know. Didn't realize she was living in a carefully controlled demolition. Because love can hold you together. But strategy is what tears someone apart piece by piece. And I wasn't in love anymore. I was in control. By the third week, Olivia had started to twitch. Not physically. Not obviously. But I could see it, in the way she checked her phone twice as often, and how her texts grew shorter and more defensive. She started leaving the house wearing less makeup and coming back with more. She was unraveling. But not fast enough. Because I wasn't looking for a collapse. I was engineering a controlled failure, the kind that looks like an accident but leaves no survivors. So I took it deeper. Every lie she'd told, every thread she'd pulled, I tied them around her own neck. It started with the photos. From my truck, 1 block down from Trevor's, I snapped 10 of them. High-res. Daylight. Her laughing, touching his chest, pulling him by the collar like a giddy high schooler. In one, she had her hand on the back of his head, eyes closed, lips parted. I printed them, sealed them in a plain manila envelope. No return address. I mailed it to her father. Why? Because Olivia always said her dad was the only man whose opinion she truly valued. 2 days later, she got the call. I knew, because I stood behind the hallway door while she took it in the kitchen. Her voice dropped an octave. She started with, "What? What are you talking about?" and ended with, "That's not. I don't even know what that is." She cried after. But not like someone ashamed. Like someone cornered. That night, she curled up beside me in bed. I kept still. "Have you ever thought about us moving somewhere new?" she asked. I said, "What for?" She didn't answer. The next morning, she made me breakfast for the first time in 2 years. Eggs. Toast. Bacon. I smiled. "What's the occasion?" She shrugged. "Just wanted to do something nice." The guilt was turning into fear. Perfect. Because what Olivia didn't know was that Trevor had started spiraling too. After that anonymous email, after he heard her call him fun, he'd been blowing up her phone with texts she now avoided near me. But one night, after she fell asleep, I pulled her phone from under the pillow. Facial recognition? Already mapped. "Trevor. Why do I feel like you're lying to both of us? Was any of it real? You said he didn't care about you. Why is he still there?" The last one hit me. Because Trevor wasn't stupid. And he wasn't just heartbroken. He was humiliated. And humiliated men become unstable fast.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing experience. But we really need your support, namely a subscription to the channel, which can make it possible to hire a professional voice actor and make the best content for you.
So I did something I'd been holding back. I responded. Me, as Olivia. Because he's weak. He's scared. And he'll never leave. He doesn't have the balls to do anything. I hit send. Then I powered her phone off and slid it back under the pillow. Let the poison marinate. I knew what would happen. And it did. 3 nights later. Trevor showed up. Drunk. Furious. Banging on our front door at 11:40 p.m. Olivia panicked, threw on a sweatshirt, told me it was probably a mistake. But I let her open the door. Trevor stumbled in like a man who just lost a bet on his own ego. "You lied," he slurred. "Trevor, stop. What are you?" "You told me he didn't matter. That he was just there." She turned pale. I stood behind her. Calm. "Everything all right?" I asked. Trevor stared at me. "You know?" he asked. "I know enough." He looked at her, then at me, then back at her. "You deserve each other," he muttered. Then he walked out, got into his truck, and peeled out of our neighborhood. Olivia turned to me, breath shaking. "Aaron." "Don't," I said. And then I walked upstairs and left her standing in the doorway of our home, hers now haunted. She didn't follow. Because in that moment, she realized something vital. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't thrown a punch. But I had dismantled her life in absolute silence. And there was nothing left for her to hold on to. The thing about people like Olivia is they don't fear guilt. They fear exposure. Guilt, she could wear like perfume, just enough to say she was working on herself. But exposure? That was toxic to her kind of ego. She built her life around perception. Picture-perfect Instagram feed. Yoga class selfies. Long captions about gratitude. Always posted from the passenger seat of my car or the kitchen I remodeled for her. She controlled her image like a brand. So I decided to bankrupt it. I started with her book club. 12 women. Weekly meetups. Wine, gossip, and thinly veiled status contests disguised as literary analysis. I made a group email. Anonymous. Burner address. Subject: in case you're still listening to her. Inside was a folder link. Password protected. Simple passphrase: infidelity. The folder held 7 curated pieces of media. Photos of Olivia and Trevor, a clipped audio recording of her calling the group, a bunch of insecure housewives, and one particularly telling screenshot of a text to Jenna that read, "I only show up to book club for the wine and the alibi." I never saw the replies, didn't need to. But 2 days later, Olivia came home from book club early. No wine breath. No fake smile. Just a pale, sunken version of herself who stood in the kitchen as if she didn't know where the floor went. "They were cold," she said, barely above a whisper. "Cold." She nodded. "Something's wrong. Everyone's acting weird." "Maybe they've just finally figured you out," I said, sipping coffee. She blinked. "What did you do?" I set my mug down. "What did you do, Olivia?" She didn't answer. But I could see it happening, the dismantling. The girl who once curated her every move was now watching the audience turn their backs mid-show. It wasn't rage I felt. It was release. Because all I'd ever wanted was honesty. And all she'd ever given me was performance. She tried one last move. She said we should go on a trip. Just us. Reset things. I agreed. Not because I wanted reconciliation, but because I had one last play to run. We drove to the mountains. Rented a cabin she found on some influencer's blog. She packed books, candles, matching flannel. The illusion of repair. She poured wine on the first night and said, "Maybe this is what we needed." I said nothing. Let her talk. Let her believe. Then, once she fell asleep on the couch, half-empty glass in hand, I opened my laptop. I uploaded the final folder. Not to her friends. To her family. Her mother. Her sister. Her uncle in Charleston who still referred to me as that dependable one. Same evidence. Same message. You should know who she really is. I set the delivery for the next morning. 7 a.m. sharp. Then I went outside, stood on the porch, and watched the fog roll through the trees like ghosts. She never stirred. And when she finally woke, hours later, she found me dressed, bags packed, coffee finished. "Where are you going?" I looked at her, really looked, and saw nothing left. "No one loves a lie forever, Olivia," I said. Eventually, even mirrors reject what they reflect. She opened her mouth, but the words didn't come. I left without another one. Olivia didn't text me for 5 days after the cabin. When she finally did, it wasn't anger. It wasn't remorse. It was desperation disguised as politeness. "I think we need to talk. I've been doing some real thinking. I know I messed up. I don't want it to end like this." I didn't reply, because it had already ended. She just hadn't felt the aftershocks yet. But they were coming. The emails had landed exactly as scheduled. Her mother called twice, voicemails full of staggered disbelief. The kind of tone you only use when your child becomes a stranger. Her sister messaged me directly. "I don't know how you put up with it as long as you did. I'm sorry. You deserved better." Olivia, meanwhile, was busy trying to salvage the unsalvageable, posting throwbacks, captioning old pictures of us with things like "lessons learned." Growth happens. No regrets. But comments were drying up. Her followers, once eager to like her curated moments of mindfulness, started asking questions. One particularly blunt comment read, "Wait, weren't you married while seeing that guy from your stories?" She deleted it, then disabled comments entirely. That was her real collapse. Not the fights. Not the exposure. The silence where applause used to be. I kept my distance. Let her twist in the vacuum she'd created. Let the people she used to control with charm finally see the strings. But just when I thought she might finally fade into quiet shame, she played her last card. She showed up. In my driveway. Rain falling like judgment. She didn't knock at first, just stood outside, soaked, arms crossed like a child waiting to be forgiven for knocking over a vase. When I opened the door, she whispered, "Can I come in?" "No." She blinked. I miss you." I tilted my head. "No, Olivia. You miss access." That hit her harder than a slap. She stepped back. "You're being cruel." "No." I said calmly. I'm being honest. Something you mistook as weakness. Her lip trembled, but the tears didn't come. Not yet. I didn't mean to hurt you. You just didn't care if you did. She stared at the ground, like there might be answers in the cracks of the pavement. Then looked up again, a flicker of the old Olivia, charming, calculating. I could make this better. If we tried again. You want comfort, I cut in. Not consequence. She hesitated, then said the thing that showed she still didn't get it. I just want things to go back to how they were. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me, stood in the rain with her. Liv. How things were is dead. And you killed it. And for the first time since all of this began, I saw her cry not because she was caught, but because she was empty. She turned and walked to her car. Didn't start it right away. Just sat there for 10 minutes, staring forward. Then she drove away. And this time, I didn't watch her go out of curiosity. I watched because it was the last time I'd ever have to doubt. It's been 7 months since the last knock on my door. Since Olivia stood in the rain, mascara running like ink from a story that was never hers to write. 7 months since I watched her leave and finally meant it. Life moved forward. But not the way people say when they're still checking someone's profile from a burner account. I mean truly forward. I sold the house. Bought a place up in Ashland City, smaller, older, but mine. No shared drawers. No ghost perfume on the pillow. No lies sealed into the drywall. Hank adjusted quickly. Dogs always do. They don't remember pain the same way we do. They only respond to the present, and that's what I was trying to relearn too. I kept my job. Promoted, even. Funny how clarity at home makes you sharper everywhere else. Colleagues asked what changed. I said I'd cleaned house. They laughed. I didn't. I started reading again, not the headlines, not the short doom scrolls, but real books. Stories that breathed. Characters with bruises and boundaries. The kind of fiction that hits too close because it's based on truths we pretend not to live. One night, I came across a quote that stuck with me. Survival is the new revenge. Thriving is the new victory. I didn't print it. I lived it. I never heard from Olivia again, not directly. But I saw the fallout. Friends dropped off her orbit. Her job moved her to part-time, then nowhere. Her name stopped echoing in places she used to treat like a stage. She tried dating again. I know because someone tagged her on a brunch story, and she looked like someone rehearsing joy. Her smile was tight. Her shoulders curled inward, like the mask didn't quite fit anymore. Good. Because real shame isn't public. It's private. It's in the way you stop liking your own reflection. In the way silence becomes unbearable because it doesn't distract you from yourself. I didn't wish her pain, but I didn't save her from it either. She made her choices. I just handed her the mirror. As for me, I met someone. Unexpected. No games. She reads more than she posts. Keeps her phone face up. Laughs with her whole body. We're not labeling anything yet. We're just living. And for once, that's enough. She knows what happened. Not all the gory details. Just the truth, that I was married to a woman who confused control with love, attention with affection, and who mistook my patience for weakness. But not anymore. Now, I know how to leave before the fire gets to the foundation. I know how to watch for the small betrayals before they grow teeth. And most of all, I know that real revenge, the kind that lasts, isn't about making them pay. It's about making yourself whole again. Quietly. Deliberately. Without them.
What do you think of the story? Write in the comments.